This just into our newsroom here at noon. An SAPD officer has been arrested for assault while off duty. Officer Joaquin Perez Ortiz was taken into custody Tuesday by the Bexar County Sheriff's Office. He's been with the police department for 5 years working in the bike patrol unit. SAPD is conducting an investigation into the incident. We'll continue to follow this story and bring you any new details as we get.
There was a female officer, I would say probably mid to late 20s. She was basically commandeering the police car, and she had basically hopped out of the car, had a big limp.
We're told parts of the Brighton Green Line had to shut down because of the crash. We asked police who had the right of way during this incident. They said it's being investigated.
Just 2 days before Christmas, a Chicago man who has served more than 3 decades behind bars for a crime he says he didn't commit is being released.
A Cook County judge has vacated his sentence after determining the man's trial was unconstitutional. Casey Cronus is live near 27th in California, where he could walk away in any minute. Casey.
That's right, Sylvia and Tia. It could be any time between now and about 5:30. Hilton Keller, who is now 52 years old, has been serving 33 years behind bars for a murder he says he didn't commit. At just 18 years old, he was accused in the May 1991 armed robbery and murder of Ollie Jones, the owner of a music and game store near 69th and Damon. Less than 1 year later, he was convicted and has been serving in the Dixon Correctional Center. But Keller has maintained his innocence ever since and says in 2019 he received a phone call in jail from a key witness in his trial who said he lied on the stand. Attorneys representing Keller in his post-conviction petition say key evidence was never disclosed to Keller's public defenders and claims that a gang member had a hand in putting the blame on Keller.
He was targeted by a gang leader who we believe was involved in the murder, and that gang leader wanted to put the murder onto somebody else. There was plenty of evidence that this was a concocted case. And had the police or the state's attorney been paying really close attention to what was going on here, they would have seen that Dawson was taking this case off of himself and onto Hilton.
Once he is released today, his lawyer tells us there is still more work to be done for him to be declared innocent and says they will be filing a petition to get that process going in the new year.
Good morning and welcome to the Bad Apple Report. It's 7:30 a.m. bright and early right here at home on the range. Thank you so much for being here today, folks. I really appreciate it. And to address the elephant in the room, some of you may have caught I made a big mistake in one of my stories yesterday while I was yammering on. Then I doubled down on it later in the show. It's like, oh. Anyways, you guys are awesome. You know, despite what you might think, I'm not perfect. I'm not a great reporter. But I am the most humble host you'll ever meet. All right. So, with that, thank you so much for being here today, folks. I really appreciate it. We've got a big show. And let's move on. Let's get on with the show.
Put your hands. The police department stop. Taser, taser, taser.
Christmas came early for the Naples Police Department. The team was gifted with brand new tasers. This will help officers take down criminals without having to take a life. NBC2's Alexa Velez got her hands on one of these new stun guns that could help save lives.
This is the Axon Taser 10 model, and what sets it apart is its new 45-foot range compared to the previous 25-foot range. And the Naples Police Department is the first agency in Southwest Florida to be using this new model, and now they're going to give us a live demonstration.
Naples Police Department, sir, show me your hands. Show me your hands. Naples Police Department, stop. Taser, taser, taser.
Before, Naples police had to use tasers that only reached 25 feet. Now they can stand almost twice that distance away with the Taser 10. This model features 10 probes in a single cartridge, meaning officers get multiple shots before they need to reload. The goal, to de-escalate dangerous situations without using lethal force.
That's the last resort, right? Using a firearm to protect somebody. But if we can do that in a non-lethal, less lethal force option like the Taser, it's a huge enhancement for our officers and a big improvement for the community as well.
On average, Naples police use tasers about 3 to 4 times a year. These new weapons could mean quicker resolutions and fewer risks for everyone involved.
You can be further away and give verbal commands to try and de-escalate a situation versus, I mean, when you look at 25 feet, it's really not that far. Being able to be 40 feet plus is a huge enhancement for us.
Naples police aren't just upgrading their tasers, though. Officers will now be equipped with body-worn cameras and updated dash cams. Axon, the company behind this law enforcement tech, has designed these devices to work together.
Everything talks to itself, so our in-car cameras talk to our body-worn cameras are linked to our tasers. If we deploy a taser, the body-worn camera automatically kicks on, so it's all that enhanced features that come with the package.
Officers will complete training this month and officially begin using the new tasers in January.
Well, here's some shocking breaking news. But I guess how shocked can you be if you watch the Bad Apple Report every day? Which I thank you for. But look at this, you guys. Former Riverside County Sheriff's deputy arrested for stalking and kidnapping. A former Riverside County Sheriff's Office employee was arrested on suspicion of stalking and kidnapping, among other offenses, this week. The investigation began back on November 27th when a woman alerted deputies that she was allegedly being stalked by a former deputy named Alexander Vanny. Oh, Vanny. Okay. Because Vanny was previously employed and terminated by the Riverside County Sheriff's Office for allegations of sexual assault, the Riverside Sheriff's Special Victims Unit was requested and assumed the investigation, the department said in a statement. Vanny, age 33, he's a Hemet resident, was previously arrested in June after an investigation into the alleged harassment of a woman volunteering at the department who said she was assaulted by a deputy at the Hemet station. Yeah, I recognize that guy's name. While investigating the matter, detectives found more evidence that led them to determine additional felonies had occurred. Oh, Vanny, the statement said. He was arrested on Thursday morning and booked into the Coy Bird Detention Center in Murrieta later that day. Ooh. On Monday, he was charged with stalking, kidnapping, unauthorized use of protected computer data. Oh, that too, huh? Malicious destroying of a wireless device and committing a felony while on bail. He remains behind bars without bail after making his court appearance on Monday. He's previously released on $1 million bond after an earlier arrest in June. Oh, Vanny, you were in so much trouble, bro. Vanny was initially placed on administrative leave when the investigation began, but was fired a few months into the investigation. Okay. Criminal complaint says that the victim, who identified as MPG, was abducted by Vanny sometime between May and December. It also alleges that between August and December, he unlawfully, maliciously, and repeatedly followed and harassed the victim. Crazy Vanny. During that time, the complaint also claims that Vanny gleaned specific data from a government computer system, copied it, and loaded it into his personal device. Freak. Additionally, the complaint alleges that Vanny destroyed a phone in order to prevent it from being used to report the crime. Oh, while on bail, Vanny was charged with possession of child photography. While on bail! You just can't make this stuff up. These are dirty, bad apples. Okay. Let's try to find ourselves a picture of this Vanny, Alexander Vanny. Okay. On with the show.
New details and shakeups in alleged scandal amid top brass at the NYPD. 2 department chiefs out. NYPD Commissioner Jessica Tisch removed the head of the NYPD's Internal Affairs Bureau. The reason still not clear tonight, but that does come after Chief of Department Jeffrey Madry handed in his resignation as sexual misconduct allegations were made. Allegations he denies. News 4's Jessica Cunnington reporting at One Police Plaza with more on the changes.
You must continue to lead with integrity and with honor in all of your work.
NYPD Commissioner Jessica Tisch speaking at a promotion ceremony to members rising up through the department at a time of turmoil. The NYPD rocked by a sex scandal over the weekend, which she did not directly address. She did make clear her expectations of everyone.
You are all part of a new era of professionalism, of respect, and of dedication that will define the NYPD under my tenure. We are consciously and decisively turning the page.
Not seated on stage among NYPD leadership, Jeffrey Madry, the former chief of department who abruptly resigned Friday night amid bombshell allegations he demanded sex in exchange for overtime pay. Lieutenant Quithisha Epps and her attorney filing a formal complaint against Madry and the NYPD, alleging a pattern of quid pro quo sexual harassment, abuse of power that went unchecked, and retaliation aimed at silencing her.
Allegations are extremely concerning and alarming.
Mayor Adams had no public appearances Monday, but addressed the allegations Saturday. The NYPD and Manhattan DA both investigating, and a source familiar with the matter says federal investigators are also looking into all of this, which has sparked a domino effect of changes in NYPD leadership. A spokesperson for the mayor telling us he is working in close coordination with the police commissioner as the NYPD conducts a separate department-wide review to ensure no high-ranking officers are using their power inappropriately. Today, Edward Thompson, the new interim chief of internal affairs, was sworn in after the former chief, Miguel Iglesias, was ousted Saturday night. Chief of Patrol John Schell, sitting next to the commissioner today, is now interim chief of department. Commissioner Tisch closing out her statements this morning with a telling promise.
I will do everything in my power to keep our members safe, to get them the tools they need to do their most important work, and to restore honor and distinction to this department.
Madry's attorney telling News 4 that his client denies allegations of any sexual interaction and he was not involved in approving Epps' overtime.
And we're banging through the headlines like you know we got to do. We found ourselves in Mesquite, where a Dallas police officer has been arrested. Okay. Mesquite, Texas, a Dallas police officer was arrested on Monday in Mesquite. What we know, police officer Nakisha Cardwell. Okay, that's an interesting name, Cardwell. Nakisha Cardwell was charged with driving while intoxicated and the unlawful carrying of a weapon. Okay, Cardwell has been a member of the police department since July 2018. She's a member of the South Central Patrol Division. Ooh. Okay, South Central. Dallas Police Department says she's been placed on administrative leave. Oh, okay. That's what you got there. Nakisha Cardwell busted drinking with her pistol.
Dozens of people in Decatur spent hours protesting this evening after a memorial for Steve Perkins was taken down at City Hall. WAFF 48's Noah Cowell talked with protesters and city leaders, and he joins us now with the latest.
Nolan, the saga and the justice for Steve Perkins continued today on the one-year anniversary of when his original memorial was vandalized and stolen. Around 2:30 this afternoon, several people came together and put another Steve Perkins memorial at City Hall in remembrance of the original one that was removed last Christmas Eve. But Decatur Mayor Tab Bowling instructed them to remove the items. A Decatur police sergeant gave them 10 minutes to do so, and when they didn't, the memorial was confiscated. Around 2 hours of protesting followed Christmas Eve night, which included over a dozen Perkins supporters shouting "Justice for Steve Perkins" and other chants outside Mayor Bowling's house.
We had a demonstration outside of Tab Bowling's house just to keep him on his toes, just to let him know that we're not giving up on Steve Perkins, our memorial, or anything that's going wrong in the city of Decatur.
Adkins and the other supporters believe Decatur police were involved in the first memorial being stolen, and they don't expect to get this one back either. Mayor Bowling told WAFF tonight the memorial was confiscated because they require approval for such things to be placed at City Hall, which he says they did not have. But Adkins says supporters were just exercising their First Amendment rights.
We're going to continue to protest. We're going to continue to stand because Steve's not here to do it himself. So the community and the protesters will continue to stand against the Decatur Police Department and the Decatur governmental structure to make sure that we receive justice.
Mayor Bowling also said in his comment earlier that if they granted permission for this memorial in front of City Hall, they'd have to grant permission to others as well. Now the Perkins supporters say that they have their eyes set on the trial for Mac Marquette, a former Decatur policeman who is on trial for the murder of Steve Perkins.
You guys remember this bad apple, don't you? That's right. He was on our Dawn of the Diddler Day episode. Maybe it was Day of the Diddler episode. I can't remember, but a bunch of diddlers that day. Well, former Orange County deputy who was arrested for aggravated kidnapping of a 12-year-old girl, now arrested in Beaumont for DWI. These people are sharing the streets with us, man. Ethan Majors was booked by Beaumont police at 12:27 a.m. on Monday, December 23rd. He bonded out later that day, right before noon. Let's go do it all over again. Let's go hunt down some 12-year-olds, allegedly. Freako. This guy's out. Okay, a former Orange County deputy. Okay, and former VDOR, one of my commenters corrected that for me, and I do appreciate that big time. ISD police officer has been arrested for DWI in Beaumont. Oh, Ethan Majors was booked by Beaumont police. Blah, blah, blah. He bonded out later that night. Yeah, we already heard that. Majors was previously arrested for allegedly aggravated kidnapping of a 12-year-old girl. And that's why I wonder why he's out and able to drive drunk. Crazy. On Sunday, November 17th, 2024, the Vidor Police Department was notified of a man picking up and taking a 12-year-old girl to the Lake Charles, Louisiana, according to the Chief Carroll. November 17th, Vidor Police Dispatch received a call from a mother about her daughter sneaking out and returning to her house later. This began the investigation into the situation, and Majors was identified as a suspect. Ooh, according to Carroll, creepy dude. Creepy dude's out drinking and driving. He was out 12:37 the other night, a couple nights ago, got arrested doing it. Child was reportedly later returned to a residence the same morning. Creepy dude's out watching the Bad Apple Report right now this morning. Majors was a former Orange County Sheriff's deputy who was fired by the Sheriff's Office, according to Chief Carroll. Majors also previously worked at Oak Forest Elementary. Ooh, yeah. From January 29th, 2024 through May 10th, 2024, before leaving to work at another law enforcement agency. This guy is a serial knucklehead. And he's been on the Bad Apple Report twice now. Jerk. All right. Let's move on with the show.
Covering the state capitol tonight as the Tennessee legislative session quickly approaches, immigration is a hot topic. A Tennessee lawmaker wants to fine law enforcement if they don't report migrants to federal officials. Senate Bill 17, filed by Senator Todd Gardenhire, wants to add to the existing law requiring law enforcement to report migrants to ICE. Fox 17 News' Karen Aguilar with the latest.
That's right, Megan. Senator Gardenhire told me that he wants to add to the existing law that requires law enforcement to report migrants to ICE. And now this is something we've been covering in the past, and so there's an update to this. Senator Gardenhire tells me now it would fine law enforcement up to $1,000 if they don't comply with the current law. He tells me it would be up to the judge's discretion. Previously, Metro Police told us they would not be enforcing the law. The Davidson County Sheriff's Office told us migrants are currently identified through fingerprints if they are in the ICE database. Gardenhire tells me this bill, if passed, would ensure compliance. Scotty DeLashmitt, the president of the Tennessee Fraternal Order, tells me it would create an unfair burden for officers.
While I think it has good intentions, I'm not pleased that it's putting law enforcement officers in the middle.
Somewhere in the whole scheme of things, you put a penalty if people don't do what the law says.
Gardenhire tells me the bill doesn't require officers to report undocumented children in K through 12 or someone who is a victim or witness to a crime. The bill does not have a House sponsor yet. You'll hear more from Senator Gardenhire and from DeLashmitt tonight at 9. Reporting live in front of the Capitol, Karen Aguilar, Fox 17 News, your Code Red station.
Roughly 20 miles south of Boston, a couple dozen people assemble at the Norfolk District Attorney's office, protesting the office's perceived failures in a couple of high-profile deaths. One of those deaths was Sandra Birchmore.
We stand together united because these people all deserve better investigations. Sandra Birchmore was murdered by an animal, and you left that animal on the street for 3.5 years. But I want you to help me say her name. Sandra Birchmore! Sandra Birchmore! Sandra Birchmore! Sandra Birchmore! Sandra Birchmore! Sandra Birchmore!
Birchmore grew up in Stoughton with her mother, and one day wanted to protect people as a police officer. So she joined the town's Police Explorer program in 2010, when she was only 12 years old. And that's where she met 26-year-old police officer Matthew Farwell and his twin brother William. Both brothers were invited to participate as guest instructors by Robert Devine. He had mentored the brothers in the Explorer program years earlier. Matthew Farwell became more present in Birchmore's life as time went by, building a relationship with her and gaining her trust. Federal prosecutors and her estate have alleged he was grooming Birchmore for sex. Court documents allege Matthew Farwell committed statutory rape against Birchmore in 2013, when she was 15. Farwell denies this. The two texted about the incident in 2020, according to an FBI affidavit. Less than a month after his first sexual encounter with Birchmore, Farwell married his fiancée. When Birchmore was an adult, records show, both Farwell brothers had sexual relationships with her. The death of her mother and grandmother in 2016 left her inconsolable and lost. Birchmore joined the military, but did not make it through basic training. She earned an associate's degree in criminal justice, but was having a hard time getting experience with the local police department.
Sandra Marie Birchmore.
In late 2020, Birchmore moved into an apartment in Canton. Farwell helped her move into her new digs. Soon after, Birchmore told Farwell that she was pregnant, and the child was his. Farwell's wife was expecting her third child at the time. On January 20th, 2021, one of Birchmore's friends called Stoughton Police and told the call taker that Matthew Farwell was having sex with Birchmore. Farwell was angry. Farwell met with Birchmore days later. He asked for a key to her apartment and inspected her place thoroughly. On February 1st at 5:31 p.m., Birchmore was seen stepping into the elevator in the lobby of her building. Later that evening, Matthew Farwell texted Birchmore and asked if he could stop by. His wife's baby was going to be born the next morning. Farwell entered her building at 9:14 p.m. Farwell later told investigators he went to the apartment to break up with Birchmore. 29 minutes later, Farwell left her apartment. Days later, Birchmore was found dead. Investigators determined her death was a suicide. Suicide seemed impossible to those who knew Sandra.
One of the first things that crossed my mind, it wasn't suicide.
She finally got pregnant and everything was going well. Right before she passed away, she was just so ecstatic that she was finally going to be a mother.
Nearly a year later, Matthew Farwell resigned from the Stoughton Police Department. An internal affairs investigation determined that Farwell, his twin brother William, and Robert Devine all had inappropriate relationships with Birchmore. The three officers denied the allegations. In the summer of 2024, the federal government accused Matthew Farwell of killing Sandra Birchmore. He's pleaded not guilty to the charge.
At approximately 10:45 a.m. this morning, the FBI arrested former Stoughton police officer Matthew Farwell for allegedly taking the life of Sandra Birchmore in order to ensure her silence. We in law enforcement are entrusted with immense authority because our decisions can have life-changing consequences. What we believe Officer Matthew Farwell did, as outlined in today's indictment, is depraved and a gross betrayal of his sworn oath and the public's trust.
Matthew and William Farwell resigned from the Stoughton Police. Devine retired. The brothers were later decertified. Matthew denies the charge and is currently in federal custody, awaiting trial. Neither Devine nor Matthew's brother William has been charged with a crime.
Thank you so much for being here today, folks. You know, as the year ends and we do stop and think about all these bad apples, it's really hard to pinpoint what was the most horrific story all year. The Sandra Birchmore piece, that's right up there, you know. And of course, I know you could name this and that. There's many that are coming to your mind. Actually, let me know in the comments what you would like to maybe see us hit on right before the end of the year, just to remind folks what we've had to endure. Anyways, you're awesome. Thank you so much for being here. I'm going to whip up another batch of bad apples just for you, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow morning at 7:30 a.m. bright and early. Have a great day.